Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. Hi guys, I'd like to welcome you guys all back to my channel, and today we are here with another Melanin Matters chat, and today we are doing the part 2 of Atomic Habits. So if you missed my first video about Atomic Habits, I talked about the 8 things that I really took away from the book, and I also told you guys that I had other videos set up where I just wanted to talk about more about this book and like what I've learned from the book, how I'm implementing the book, and a lot of you guys showed interest in this, so we are here with part 2. Yes, this is technically a book chat, but it's also a book chat to help you as a person just better your life, or maybe this will be something that you can share with someone else. Either way, yes. Also, I apologize for the lighting. This is my first time recording in my library, and I'm noticing that I'm gonna have to shift my recording area to face the window instead of the side of the window, hence why we've got the light and dark situation going right now. Okay, so we're gonna talk about habits and what else I've been learning. We're gonna go into a little more detail. Bear with me. I wrote notes. I try to make this coherent. Hopefully I can actually accomplish that today. Would definitely love your feedback at the end of this. So the book breaks down the whole idea of goal setting and habits into 4 basic sections. So basically your brain cues a certain behavior. So the 4 steps are cue, craving, response, and reward. The idea is that your brain cues it, your body craves it, you either do it or don't do it, and then you reward. Like there's like a reward sensory that goes off in your brain to say like, oh yay, like I got it done. So basically when it says cue, it's like it triggers your brain to initiate a certain behavior. It's kind of how like I'm going to use weight loss. I'm going to use weight loss as the prime example to explain these thoughts, because that is something that I recognize as something that like I need to work on. So it's easier for me to give you an example that I'm personally working on rather than trying to make up something to sound official. And that's just not how I can do things. So my body cues that I need to lose weight because I am overweight and it's heavy and it's uncomfortable. So then the next step would be a craving, which is your motivational force behind the habit, which I just said, I'm unhealthy, I want to lose weight, I want to feel better, I want to have more energy. That's the motivation, aka the craving. Then your next step is the actual response. So that's actually you doing the habit. So it would be like me doing the habit of exercising every day, or meal prepping, like anything that I'm doing to like appease the cue that was given in my brain. And then obviously the reward is the whole satisfaction of your craving. It teaches you which actions are worth remembering in the future. So with that kind of mindset, like understanding that a habit is formed based off of this process that happens in your brain, where you decide that this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to do to achieve it. The book breaks it down into 4 laws of behavior. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. These also, if you don't realize it, form from the 4 steps to forming a habit. The cue is make it obvious. The craving is make it attractive. The response is make it easy. And the reward is make it satisfying. So I know this is kind of weird thinking about it like that, and I'm trying to explain it, but it'll make sense soon, I promise. So step 1 is make it obvious, and the book talks about many different ways of how to make it obvious, and like how do you turn your habits into something that becomes automatic and something that you don't have to think about all the time, because the best way to commit to a habit is making it automatic, doing stuff without even thinking about it. So the book suggests that you for a day, write down everything that you do from the moment that you wake up. So for me, I tried it for one day during quarantine, and I'm going to do it again when I start working in the office full time again. So quarantine, I wake up, turn my alarm off, grab my phone, go use the bathroom, brush my teeth, wash my face, turn on the TV, log into my work computer, cook breakfast. Now, this kind of thing, it makes you very, like, it makes you conscious of what you're doing. That's the first thing that it does. Well, that's the first thing that it did for me. It made me very conscious of what I was doing. But then there are a lot of habits that I realized were automatic that I didn't necessarily want them to be automatic. For example, grabbing my phone in the morning and social media immediately was not a habit I realized that I picked up until I started tracking what I was doing every day. And that's when I realized, like, my first thing that I should do, like, okay, my alarm is on my phone. Excuse me. That's fine. No big deal. But I should have, like, not have the habit of immediately going to social media. Like, the best part about it is laying out your habits like that. It lets you see, like, what are the good habits that you already have in place? What are the bad habits? What are habits that are neither good nor bad but need to be there? Which is another step that that the book recommends. So what I did was I looked at my list and I was like, wow, okay, brush your teeth, wash your face. That's good. Immediately turning on the TV, not so much. That's not bad, but it's not necessarily great. Grabbing my phone first thing in the morning, huge negative. No. Like, I don't care what kind of emails. I put that habit in myself and I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. Like, we got to fix this. A very easy way to look at yourself and kind of start evaluating yourself is ask yourself, who is the person that I want to be? Does this habit go towards that, or does that habit pull against it? Like, or is that habit neutral? For example, I want to be a person that prays more in the morning. I want to be a person that sets my intentions in the morning and, like, not get bogged down by social media, especially with all this, like, crap and having to delete racist people, and it's exhausting. I want to create a different space for myself in the morning. So obviously grabbing my phone and going straight to social media is not a habit that is conducive to the person that I want to be. So on my list, I put a negative. And I should prefix this, having negatives on your list is not bad. You're giving yourself a starting point and you're just kind of making yourself aware. Sometimes the action of making yourself aware makes everything shift without you even having to do anything else. So always keep that in mind. Habits and habit systems are not to criticize you and make you feel like you're some kind of lesser of a person. Habit systems are just making you more aware of what you do and how you optimize your time. So the next step in this process, and it's very hard for me to do this step, and also I'm not quite sure how effective it is because I'm by myself, is to verbally acknowledge your negative habits. So, for example, it's like, I'm eating ice cream again. This goes against my want to be a healthier person because I'm not eating vegetables. Like, that's the kind of thing that's saying do. However, personally, I don't know if that helps. I live by myself. I talk to myself all the time. In the last video, I talked about this. I can talk myself into doing a lot of things. But even my therapist has said, like, there's power in your words. The Bible says it. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. Like, there are multiple references that say, like, how you speak to yourself has power. So this is the area that I'm personally struggling in, because a lot of times living by yourself, you talk to yourself a lot, and sometimes these conversations are going down in your mind, not out loud. I'm trying to verbally acknowledge my bad habits, especially when it comes to eating, because eating and I have a very tricky relationship. I love food. I love the flavors of food, and it's just been very emotionally soothing, even though that's a whole other video. So something that I tried to implement before I got scorching hot here in Texas was compound habits, in the sense that, like, I would say, okay, so I'm going to go walk 4 miles every day. And in the beginning I was, because the weather was great. Now it's too hot. So it was like, okay, well, when are you going to go and do this? Where are you going to go do this? And the idea is, if you're setting these type of new habits that you want to incorporate into your life, making it very simple. So the next thing is making your new habit very obvious. And the simplest way to do that is literally answer the who, what, where, when, and why. For example, I said, oh, there's a track across the street from my house. I'm going to go walk 2 laps around it. And that, by the time I get home, is about 4 miles. I'm going to do it every day right after work. And I'm going to go by myself, and I'm going to set my playlist, and I'm going to go. That literally answers like the time, the location, and everything. So I did it, legit. I did it for a while, and I was very proud of myself, and I was getting it in there. And then it got hot, like in the 90s when I got off work, and it's scorching hot, and I'm like, okay, I don't really want to do that anymore. Let's figure out what else we can do. And I never figured out anything else. So that's been like a whole issue. And the next part of this is like basically the idea of habit stacking. So let's think of the best way for me to explain this. So for me, when I get off work, I go sit down and I kind of have 30 minutes to myself. I set an alarm. When that alarm goes off, I start my workouts. And I have a home workouts right now with my trainer. So I do my home workouts. What I would like to start doing, because I'm going to work this week, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to come home from work, change into my workout clothes, have 30, 40 minutes to myself, do my home workout first, and then go for a walk. That is the implementation that I'm going to try. And this all stems from the first habit of coming home and immediately changing into my clothes. To just set my mind that like, it's time to work out. It's time to work out. Again, working out has never been really a struggle for me. It's really the eating that's been my struggle. But I just wanted to make sure that it was a kind of habit that I could repeat. And another thing you have to remember is your habit, the cue for your new habit has to be as frequent as you want the habit to occur. So that idea that I want to do works well during the week because I work during the week. But if I telework or if it's the weekend, then that no longer cues the habit because I'm no longer coming home from work. Does that make sense? So when you decide that you want a habit stack and you want to create these routines for yourself, your routines have to make sense for the habit. So if you want to read every single day at noon while you're home, but you're not home every day at noon, that will not be something that you can continue. So the step for making it obvious is also making it practical. The same thing goes for the idea, like, so say instead of building a new habit, you want to break a habit. So right now I'm in the process of breaking the habit of getting on my phone every morning. So what I've done is I know that every morning when I wake up, I turn the alarm off on my phone. Solutions could be buy an alarm clock, which I'm just not doing right now because I don't even have a nightstand to put that mug on. 2, I log out of social media every night before I go to bed. It's a part of my nighttime routine now. So after I complete my nighttime routine in my bed and once I turn my alarm on, I log out of my social media. So basically in the morning when I wake up and the first thing that I do is to click on like Instagram or something, I have to log back in. That extra step reminds me, you cannot log back in until you've done your morning routine. So after I do my morning routine, then I log back into everything. And so far, it's been working, but not really on the weekends. The weekends, I've been forgetting to like log out. So I have to like readjust it. But that's the kind of thing, it's like, you have to make the way that you have to make the new habits and the good habits that you want, you have to make them more obvious and more appealing and like a simpler way to get them and create all these positive pathways to them. Whereas breaking habits, you have to create a negative pathway. So you have to make it invisible. So for me, making it invisible is logging out. It's a lot of extra work to log back in now. To some people that might not be enough. Some people, they got to delete the whole app. Like, it all works for different people, but you have to basically take the inversion of creating good habits to break a bad habit. Which, yeah, that makes sense, right? Yeah. Another thing that I kind of briefly want to talk about is the whole idea of like self-control, where it's like, well, if you had self-control, then you would be able to stay on meal plan, and you'd be able, it's like, if you really wanted it, then you'd be able to do this, that, and the other. That is a detrimental form of thinking for me. And I won't speak for everyone, but for me, it's different. It's not about self-control. And it's something else that this book touches on. It's about minimizing the cue for that particular habit. So for me, I actually go to emotional eating when I feel stressed, or when I feel like I've lost a sense of control. I am a type A control person. It's what happens. So when I lose that sense of control and I feel like everything is spiraling, like, I emotionally eat. So it's not just, oh, well, if you really wanted to lose weight, you would do this. Like, losing weight and eating right are great, but there are other factors in terms of my eating that are not related to weight loss, but also play into weight loss. So it makes me feel bad when I'm told, oh, well, if you were truly dedicated, or if you really wanted to lose weight, you would. Like, I don't understand why you can't do it. And it's like, it's a lot bigger for me. So I have been working on a different mindset of, I need to just minimize the cues. I need to replace and minimize. So I need to replace the action of emotional eating with other things. And there's no way to minimize emotional reactions. There is a way to divert them into different directions. So it works the same way with the negative habit for you as well. If you want to break a negative habit, you can have all the self-control in the world. And for a while, that self-control will work. But if you've never minimized the cues that initiate this need for that bad habit, then you're going to go back to that bad habit eventually. That 21 days to break a habit is literally just you having self-control for 21 days. And notice that self-control fades away really quick after that 21 days, because in your mind, it's like, oh, that habit is broken. And it's not. Habits don't get broken until your cues are minimized. So the same way that making a good habit is make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying, the opposite is for the breaking a negative habit or a bad habit. And that is make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. And for me, I embody the make it difficult with the phone. I'm trying to make it unsatisfying with my eating, and just not make, like, I've done a lot of things. Well, that's another video that we have to talk about, because that's too personal for this video. So how the heck do you make it attractive? Which is actually more of a scientific thing. You know, when we do happy things and we do things that make us happy, we get dopamine like rushes into our brain, which are called dopamine feedback loops. So essentially, like, you're feeding yourself like happy pills, essentially, when you do these kind of things that are attractive to you. Ironically, for me, the way that I make it more attractive is I tell my support system when I'm trying to do things. And I have different groups of friends that I've built recently where I can tell certain ones, this is what I'm trying to do here. And they are my accountability partners here. But I also have like my core group of friends that they know, like, I'm trying to do this personal thing for myself because I want to be a better person. And they're there to check me and put everything back into perspective. I'm a people pleaser. So the idea of people being happy with what I've done is a motivator for me. And I really have to be cognizant of the fact that I am a people pleaser, because that can lead to other problems. But the idea that you are making it very known, you're making it attractive, you're making it to where it's not just you trying to please yourself. Because a lot of us can set a goal, and if it's just for us, it's very easy for us not to achieve that goal. Whereas once you start involving other people into it, it kind of changes your motivation. It's like, I don't want to disappoint you. Because for some reason we're very comfortable disappointing ourselves, but not other people. Which is something to think about when you actually do, because I just kind of called myself out, but it's fine. It's totally fine. So something that my therapist also brought up, that the book also brings up, is like, how do you how do you fix the cause of your bad habits? And that requires a personal analysis on yourself. Like, what causes your cravings? Like, what do your cravings stem from? When do you notice that these cravings are happening? Again, it's another moment of self-awareness. A lot of habit building and habit breaking is from self-awareness and understanding yourself and your wants and your needs. And that requires a level of vulnerability and honesty that sometimes scares me, to where it's been very difficult for me to address certain issues because it requires a level of honesty and call out on myself. So it's not something that I'm saying like, oh, it's going to be fixed overnight. There are some habits that are easier to break than others. And there are some habits that I've actually turned more into an addictive type situation than a regular habit. And it's perfectly fine to seek out the help that you need to address your situation. So the book also identifies that most of our habits stem from underlying motives. So underlying motives are things like conserve energy, obtain food and water, win social acceptance and approval, reduce uncertainty and anxiety. And these are just to name a few. There's a long list of them, but think about it. Some people smoke because it makes them relax. That's reducing stress and anxiety. Is it a good habit? No, but the underlying motive for that habit is actually a good reason. And so when you start identifying those kind of things, you realize that cravings are just a deep manifestation of an underlying motive. You can trace all of your habits and things back to that list of underlying motives. I emotionally eat because it relieves something in my brain to calm me down. I'm trying to switch it by journaling and actually going to yoga when my mind feels like that. Has it been a little difficult? Absolutely. Like, my mouth salivates when I think about the fact that I have to switch. It's very interesting the way that I've been struggling with this. But it's honest. It's like, your habits are bad because of the side effects of your habits, but the understanding of why you try to solve these underlying motives with that habit makes total sense. It's why we have addictions. It's why we have addictions. It's why we reach for these things that are not necessarily good, but they make us feel good. We're still addressing these underlying issues, but we're just addressing them in a not so good way. So the idea is that, like, we identify what is our underlying motive, and we use that to reevaluate the habits that we have and convert our habits into good habits. Make sense? Another thing that has been very clear with this book and my therapist is that a craving is a sense that something is missing, and it is a desire to change something in your life. Like, it's a desire to feel different or to be different. And that is the same thing with me. So I have a craving and a desire to lose weight. And I have this desire because I know that I'm unhealthy. I know that I'm not happy with what I see when I look in the mirror. And I know that there are things that I could do to just be a healthier person, to where I'm not struggling to do simple things like walk upstairs, or where my knees don't feel like 1,000 pounds are on them all the time. There are things that I can do to feel different. And it takes a conscious decision to start actively working on it. Am I perfect? No. I have great days, great weeks. I even have great months. And then I plummet sometimes. I've been back and forth with this for so long that, like, I felt like a failure. But with reading this book, I realized I'm not failing. My systems are failing. So we just need readjustments. So how have I been making adjustments? First, I've been trying to highlight my good habits. I've been trying to highlight them and understand them for what they are. And there are positives to almost every habit. Like I said, you're identifying the underlying motives behind your habits. So when you realize that there are actual positives behind your habits, it kind of makes it, you're reprogramming your mind to, like, for example, I want to lose weight. I love working out and I love making my body stronger. Whereas before I was like, I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I'm always tired. I'm always in a perpetual state of recovery. It sucks. But during this quarantine, I've been telling myself, like, I'm getting stronger. I love being stronger. I'm not seeing physical changes. So it really, really bugs me that I can't see any physical changes to my body. So I've been trying to encourage myself by, I have a new fitness journal, which eventually I will show you guys that. But I track my workouts every day, weights and reps and sets, so that I can go back and look and be like, I've gotten stronger. I'm now up to 15 reps. I'm now up to 25 pounds. Like, you know, I have other ways to validate my experience other than what's on the scale or what's on the measuring tape. And that was something that I really liked with my previous trainer. I felt like he made me stronger. Like, I'm strong. And I have to attribute that to him. It's just that we'll talk about that later, about why I chose a different trainer for right now. I do plan on going back to Drew. I just need to get the better handle on my mental and my food. So that working out won't feel like a waste of time. So now we've gotten here, and I know you're asking, well, Brittany, what the heck do you do in your planner to make it a thing? Habit trackers. This is the whole making it easy for me. I am a tracker person. I make to-do lists. I make lists. I bullet journal. So for me, having a section in my bullet journal that I needed to fill out, every day works for me. Here's what I've learned. So I've tried multiple habit trackers. I've tried monthlies, weeklies, dailies, etc. For me, it works better if the habit tracker is on my weekly spread. I don't remember always to flip back to my monthly pages unless I'm looking at, like, what bill is due. So for me, I wanted weekly trackers, and I made weekly trackers and monthly trackers available. Now keep in mind, I'll show what's available while I'm talking. Habit trackers are great, but you always have to remember that there are certain things worth tracking and there are certain things not worth tracking. If you're trying to create new habit systems, what I recommend is that you write out your habit systems on a separate piece of paper, and wherever this habit system is going to be conducted, put it up there. So I have a morning routine where I had the morning routine taped up in my bathroom. Just because majority of the morning routine is in the bathroom, that's where I'm trying to get my mind right. I have a nighttime routine that is also in the bathroom, where it's me prepping my body to get ready to go to bed. Because it's supposed to help you sleep better, which, but you want to make it easy. You want to make your goals accessible, and you want to be constantly cognizant of your goals. It takes work. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not something that you're going to write down one day and then magically be able to do the next day. It's something that's going to take constant review. So if you go on melanineclectic.com, you'll see some things that I've used, I've written. You'll be able to get routine sticker pages that you can just stick on anything. I wrote them out personally in my journal, and I created these pages based off of pages that I've used personally. So they will just be stickers for you to just put anywhere. I don't recommend starting off with like 10 habits. I recommend starting off with maybe 5. Putting 2 habits on the list. Put 2 habits in your habit tracker that you do regularly all the time. So that when you're doing it, it's automatic satisfaction that you're like wiping it off or coloring it in or however you want to do it. There is something satisfying about coloring in, checking off, scratching off, or crossing through task. There is something dopamine satisfying about that. So I created these because I just wanted, you guys asked for them. I heard you. I promise I did. I wanted to make them. Also, I have the blank ones for those who want to fill it in themselves. I have monthly ones with each month on them. We could start doing different themes if you guys want. I obviously love to hear your feedback for these items. Stick with it. The amount of time that you've been performing a habit is not as important as how many times you've performed that habit. Basically, like, I started this habit 3 months ago. I started the habit of turning off or logging out of my phone a week ago. Of the 7 days, I managed to do it successfully 5. So I've been doing it for a week, but I only did it 5 times. The goal is to get it to 7 for 7. So remember, this whole habit tracking thing is a process. Habit forming is a process. Habit systems is a process. But your goals are important. And if you focus on your habit systems, you might see a different type of thing that actually proves to be way more rewarding than actually like just setting goals. I set goals in the beginning of this year. Now, my intention is to create my habit systems to make these goals a reality. So I've talked a pretty long time. Thank you guys so much for checking out this Melanin Matters chat. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'd love for you to leave them down below. And my question for this video is, do you want any more Atomic Habit videos, or are you good with just this one? Again, as usual, thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed and made it all the way this far in this video. And until the next time, guys, bye.